What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are doing something much different that I think you guys will enjoy, so I'm going to be bringing it to you guys, and that is looking at the best running back from every single draft class in the last decade. Let's get it started. Welcome in, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're mixing things up completely today. And the reason I'm doing this because I feel like there's a lot of variations we can do of today's video. Sure, we are a Lions channel and that will not change, but I thought we can mix in these types of videos and just have some fun with it. For example, we could be looking at receivers, quarterbacks, busts, steals, 1990s. We could do a lot of different things. We can have tons of fun with this. And I feel like it gets a lot more NFL fans involved. And also maybe some guys that remember watching the league back in 1912. Sorry, we're not looking at 1912 today. But in this case, 2009. Maybe you watched the NFL back in 2009, 2010, and you remember that vividly. Well, maybe something like this would be more exciting for you as we can look back on some older players. Because there's tons of variations. So if you guys have another suggestion you have like this, put it in the comment section below and we'll check it out. Now, before we get this thing started, I do got to set little ground rules. Also, a couple of disclaimers on how we are going to be rating these players. Usually, I like to say this is how I'm going to be rating this player or these coaches or whatever it may be. But in this case, it's really hard to pinpoint one thing. I'm not pinpointing one thing. That's the case. I'm not simply looking at one stat, one metric, or whether or not he's played in this many seasons, injuries. It's really a variety of everything, okay? It's everything kind of combined into one, and then me making my opinion on who was the best running back out of that draft class. So yes, that segues me into my next point. This is my opinion. So if you guys disagree with any of these, which I'm sure you'll disagree with at least one of them, maybe you'll disagree with all of them, put in the comment section below which running back you'd have chosen and why, and maybe I'll even agree with you guys. So let's just hop right into this thing, man. I'm excited to do this. We are not going to be looking at the 2019 or 2020 NFL draft class. Maybe we could look at 2019. I still don't want to do it. It's only been 1 year. And for 2020, I really just don't think it's fair. I really don't think it's fair. I mean, the dude has none of these guys have played one snap in the NFL. How in the world can I include them on this list? Come on, man. So we're mainly focusing on 2009 to 2018. So let's get it started. All right, let's go back to the 2009 NFL season where the Detroit Lions found their franchise quarterback, the quarterback that is still here in Matthew Stafford. And in 2009, you may be asking yourself, who was the best running back out of this draft class? Well, I think I have the answer. With a second-round pick from the Philadelphia Eagles, pick number 53, where we saw LeSean Shady McCoy selected. Now, if you guys don't remember LeSean McCoy, or maybe you're on the younger side, you're saying, okay, I've heard about this guy before, but is he really that good? Go check out some prime LeSean McCoy highlights. He is one of the most fun players you will ever get to watch, especially from the running back position. The dude was so electrifying. One of the most shifty, elusive, knock your socks off. Guy was nasty. This is the kind of player that you want to see. If you want to get hyped up, if you're like, hey, I'm going to go out to go play football with my friends, I want to get hyped up, this is the kind of player that you should go watch because his highlight tape is incredible. Not only is his highlight tape incredible, the draft class was not incredible. Yes, the draft class that he was in when it comes to running backs wasn't very good. And a lot of these top picks didn't live up to their expectations. Guys like Noshawn Moreno, guys like Green, guys like Beanie Wells from Ohio State, a lot of these guys didn't live up to the expectations. And while LeSean McCoy isn't the best running back, and he may not be number one for all of these draft classes, LeSean McCoy is still an absolute monster, and his numbers really do speak for themselves. 6 seasons with at least 1,000 yards rushing, 4.5 yards per carry. There's a reason I'm listing him as the best running back in this draft class. The dude was a beast. The draft class was bad, and he put up some good numbers, and he was fun to watch. LeSean McCoy, for me, has to be the best running back for the 2009 draft class. If you disagree, put it in the comment section below, but I really don't see another player here. Okay, so let's move on to the 2010 NFL draft. So who was the best running back out of the 2010 NFL draft? As you guys can tell, I'm wearing a different shirt than the scenes before. Yes, I am doing this a different day. You will see me in this shirt again in this video because I have changed my mind on 2 of these decisions. For 2010, initially, I made a decision that CJ Spiller would be my pick for the 2010 NFL draft. But then I decided I just couldn't do it. I didn't see too much consistency in his career. There was one peak with a year over 1,000 yards rushing, but it wasn't good enough for me to put him over a guy like Ryan Matthews. Now, Ryan Matthews, even though he wasn't the best running back, or maybe he didn't live up to all of the hype of where he was drafted, Ryan Matthews is a guy I have to choose. Sure, his career was pretty much short. It was cut off after the 2016 season, but when he did play in the NFL of over 1,000 yards rushing and did actually pretty darn well in the NFL. More consistent than a guy like CJ Spiller, so I had to go with Ryan Matthews. Initially, I was thinking CJ Spiller, but I just don't think it makes sense. Even the stats will back up that Ryan Matthews has to be the choice here. So I'm going to go with Ryan Matthews. It wasn't the best draft class once again. This is probably one of the worst ones that we're going to look at. You had guys like Javid Best, who unfortunately had tons of potential. His career was completely derailed by injuries. You had guys like Starks, Toby Gerhart. But for me, man, it wasn't the best class, but I do have to go with Ryan Matthews. So let's move on to 2011. Let's hop into 2011, the very next year, and this is where we start to see some real talent here. Not saying the other guys weren't talented, but these guys are very talented. So for 2011, I do think there's a couple of other guys you could choose from. Well, for me, for 2011, I have to go with Mark Ingram. And I do feel like there's some other competition here with a guy like DeMarco Murray, but I went with the first round pick number 28, Mark Ingram. Now, what we've seen from Mark Ingram recently is the reason I have to put this guy as the best running back from this draft class. Now, he hasn't been the best running back every single year from this draft class. I feel like DeMarco Murray at one point, you honestly could say was the best running back. We've also seen some solid guys like Deion Lewis through this draft, but for me, I have to go with Mark Ingram. What we've seen from him lately with the Saints and then the Ravens tells me, how is this guy not number one? I mean, the numbers he puts up are incredible. Over 7,000 rushing yards in 9 seasons in the NFL. That to me is great. 4.6 yards per carry and over 1,800 receiving yards. The numbers are consistent. He's a good running back. You put him with someone else, he's going to be good. Mark Ingram's been really good in the NFL, right? He hasn't fizzled out. For me, Mark Ingram has to come in as the best running back from the 2011 draft class. Let's hop into the 2012 NFL draft class. Who was the best running back in the 2012 NFL draft class? So last night, I made a decision to choose one running back from the 2012 draft class. And today I woke up and decided to change that. This really comes down to 2 running back, 2 surprises, a 4th round pick and a 6th round pick. 2012 wasn't the best for running backs, but it did feature 2 players that were basically steals, and Lamar Miller and Alfred Morris. And I struggled to pick which one I would take. Initially, yesterday when I recorded the video, I took Lamar Miller. I decided to go with Lamar Miller because in 2018 we saw him make a Pro Bowl. To me, he's been more of a consistent running back throughout his entire career. I like his ability to catch the ball and run the ball, catch the ball at a higher level than a guy like Alfred Morris. So initially, I went with Lamar Miller as a good back with some other backs. But then I slept on it, woke up, and I decided to change that answer. Both of these guys are currently free agents now. Lamar Miller last season had an ACL tear, and for Alfred Morris, he is now a free agent. But the reason I decided to take Alfred over Lamar is because of the peak that we saw. Sure, he maybe hasn't had the same steady stat numbers that Lamar has been putting up, but Alfred Morris in his first 3 seasons in the NFL was a stud, and he shocked everybody. First year in the NFL, he had over 1,600 yards rushing. 1,600 yards rushing as a rookie. His next 2 years, over 1,000 yards rushing and 2 Pro Bowls. For me, I had to go with Alfred Morris. Now, it is very close. We don't know what the future holds for either of these guys. So if we look at this video 2 years down the road, we may be saying, okay, now I take Lamar Miller, because I think it is neck and neck. I literally had to change my answer overnight. I think it's so close, but ultimately, I decided to go with Alfred Morris, man. I think I have to give him the edge here because of that peak that we saw. He was playing at such a high level. Lamar Miller's been good, just he hasn't been great like that before. So I had to go with Alfred Morris. That is my final answer for the 2012 NFL draft class. Let me know your thoughts, comments below, man. Who would you put there? There's also another guy that some people may include, and that was Doug Martin. It looked like at one point that he was probably going to be the best, and then he kind of fell off as well. So comment below who you think is the best running back from the 2012 NFL draft class. Who would you take? And let's move on to 2013, where we see possibly the best running back that we've talked about yet, and that is Le'Veon Bell. Now, Le'Veon Bell didn't have his best season last season with the New York Jets. He didn't look like one of the best running backs in the NFL, but just before the holdout and then going to the Jets, the dude was considered by a lot of people as the best running back in the NFL for a pretty good amount of time. Le'Veon Bell, the 2nd round pick number 48 out of Michigan State, was an absolute monster. Le'Veon Bell is great for multiple reasons, because not only can this guy run the football and he's explosive and shifty and he's strong, he can also catch the ball with some of the better running backs in the NFL. He can literally do anything you ask him to. And his peak is incredible, and he's still a good running back with the Jets. It's not like he completely fell off. And maybe next season he hits 1,000 again. 3 of his 6 seasons in the league so far have been at least for 1,000 yards rushing, and he has 3,000 yards receiving. Yeah, the dude's a monster. Le'Veon Bell, I think, is probably the best running back we've talked about so far. Now, at one point, some people were saying, hey, maybe Eddie Lacy is the best running back in this class. That, unfortunately, did not last long. He kind of fizzled out, and a guy like Le'Veon Bell turned into, well, Le'Veon Bell. You could also possibly include a guy like Theo Riddick. I'm just kidding. Theo Riddick was a nice role piece, but come on, man. We're not taking Theo Riddick over a guy like Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell comes in as the best running back selected in 2013. Let's hop into 2014. In 2014, again, a controversial, man. Some of these are getting tough. In 2014, I really struggled here between a lot of players. Ultimately, I decided to go with Carlos Hyde, the 2nd round pick number 57. Now, clearly, as you guys can tell by the background, I'm a Michigan fan, but I do my best to keep bias out of everything. And because of that, I had to go with Carlos Hyde. Yes, I know he's a former Ohio State running back, and he hasn't been the best over his entire career, but I do feel like he's been really good lately. And this guy has started to look really good in the NFL. He had 1,000 yards rushing last season. I do feel like there's a lot of competition here with guys like Devontae Freeman, James White, Jerick McKinnon. And I feel like Devontae Freeman probably has the best case to be up here. But what I've seen lately from Carlos Hyde tells me that this is the best running back in this class. And I think he will be the best running back in this class as the years go by. So for me, I had to go with the power back in Carlos Hyde that has turned it on as of late. He's found a spot for himself in the NFL, and he's been pretty darn good. Now let's hop into 2015, where we have, again, some competition, man. All right, we're looking at guys like Tevin Coleman, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, but I decided to pass up on all of those guys. Instead, I went with Todd Gurley, the first-round pick number 10. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, man, Todd Gurley's got all these injury concerns. The dude's not even going to be a starter now. Yes, they are planning to make him a rotational back now in Atlanta. However, I have to go with Todd Gurley here. Now, I feel like David Johnson is the best argument you can make out of this class because his ability to catch and run the ball is incredible. And what he was traded for this offseason kind of tells you how much a team values him at. Even if it's not the best trade, Texans, what are you doing? It still kind of tells you how valuable this player is, even with the crazy injury concerns. But I feel like the injuries have held him back a little bit. Melvin Gordon's been good, but I don't think he's ever been great. And ever since the holdout, I think Austin Eckler really started to ball out. And good for him, Austin Eckler got really well known. Tevin Coleman been a solid running back in the NFL. But for me, man, I have to go with Todd Gurley. Now, hopefully his career is not really hindered by those injuries. I think it may slow down some of the production, but the dude has been a monster in the years that he's been in the NFL. I mean, I don't know how you can deny this. Dude has 5,400 rushing yards in 5 seasons. That means he's averaging over 1,000 yards rushing a season. Sure, the injuries could be concerning, but at this point, there's no one else I could choose. Maybe down the road we're saying someone else, but for right now, I got to go with Todd Gurley. Let's hop into 2016 and we start to wrap this thing up. In 2016, we have some really good running backs. To me, it comes down to two players with a third that you could possibly mix in Kenyon Drake. But to me, the emergence of a guy like Derrick Henry late has really put him into this conversation. But Ezekiel Elliott, again, another Ohio State player, even though I'm not an Ohio State fan, I have to put here. Look, he's not my favorite player in the league, but he's still very, very good. I mean, even in his down season, he's putting up ridiculous numbers. And he's really the main part of that offense for Dallas. I think of the Cowboys, I think of Elliott. I don't think of Dak Prescott. Zeke Elliott, the first-round pick number 4, was picked there for a reason. In 3 of his 4 seasons, he's had at least 1,300 yards rushing. 1,300 yards rushing. He can also catch the ball. Not great, but he's solid as a receiver out of the backfield. He's just a really good running back. The dude is powerful as heck. He's very fast in a straight line. Ezekiel Elliott's a monster. Okay, Ezekiel Elliott is one of the best running backs in the league, even though the NFL kind of hated on him. I know they didn't even list him in their top 10 running backs for next year. I know some Dallas fans were upset about that. But come on, man. Zeke's the best running back here for me. Now, Derrick Henry is definitely on the way up. Man just got paid. He's going to be pushing it. But as of now, I can't go with anybody else but Zeke. But what's interesting is that if you put Derrick Henry like in 2010, I feel like he'd be the best running back in the class. But it was really last year where he popped out. Will he continue to pop out? We'll have to wait and see. We have 2 years left, and that is 2017 first. In 2017, one of the best, if not the best draft class that we have. I think this could be arguably the best draft class that we're going to look at today. When you see guys like Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, Hunter for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who really took over after Le'Veon left, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Delvin Cook, Marlon Mack, you're saying to yourself, wow, this is a really good running back class. Hopefully your team drafted a running back this year. Okay, there's only one running back for this. I feel like the best competition for this running back I'm about to choose is Delvin Cook. And now he is planning possibly to hold out next season. We'll see if that happens. And there has been some injuries late in his career, which has caused him to miss a few games. But the dude's been arguably the best running back in the North when healthy. And because of that, Delvin Cook, to me, comes in a close second. Kareem Hunt got off to a hot start. We know it's been kind of a mess there. And Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs when it comes to catching the ball in the backfield. He definitely has a solid argument. Joe Mixon has kind of stepped it up. Fournette maybe hasn't been the same as what he came out as. For me, I got to go with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is arguably the best running back. I would say the best running back in the league right now, with Saquon Barkley being close in my eyes. Christian McCaffrey, the first round pick number 8, is something else. The running back out of Stanford can catch the ball and run the ball better than possibly every single running back on this list. Seriously, the combination of being able to do both is incredible. He is the main part of that entire Panthers team. You think of Panthers, you think of Christian McCaffrey. You just think of Christian McCaffrey. He literally makes this team go. Christian McCaffrey had 1,300 yards last season and 1,000 yards receiving. If that doesn't tell you how great he is, I don't know what does. Christian McCaffrey is arguably the best running back on this list, and he comes in as the best running back from 2017. And the final year that we're going to look at, again, has a lot of potential. Guys like Darius Geis, Kerryon Johnson, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, I think, has the best case to be here, but unfortunately for Nick Chubb, he may be first in a couple of years down the road, but unfortunately for Nick Chubb, when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley, there's just no way I cannot put Saquon Barkley here. Nick Chubb is a beast, don't get me wrong, and I think Carryon is going to surprise some people, but a guy like Saquon Barkley is clearly the best running back in this class. I mean, he made you have to choose. Do I want a good quarterback because I don't know what I'm going to get here? You never know with quarterbacks. Or do I take by far the best running back in the class? That was the decision when it came to 2018. And Saquon Barkley, the second pick in that year's draft, has lived up to all the hype. In 2 seasons, he's had over 2,300 yards rushing and 1,159 yards receiving. The Giants aren't that good. They don't have a very good offensive line. They don't pass the ball very well. Their defense is pretty average. They're just not a very good team. But Saquon Barkley, as young as he is the face of that franchise as of now, and he will be for the future. Saquon Barkley, arguably the best running back in the league with Christian McCaffrey already, has to come in as the best running back from the 2018 class. So there you go. Those are my rankings of the best running back out of every single draft for the last decade. Comment below what you guys think, what do you disagree with, what you do agree with, and also let me know some other video suggestions like this. Thank you, Prep, for watching, and I'm out.